The Houston Astros show why they are one of the best teams in the American League West as they beat up on the Cleveland Indians. There was no coffee being served last night in the Mariners clubhouse, and that's why I think they lost against the Detroit Tigers. The Mud Hens return home to Fifth Third Field to take on the Columbus Clippers in a big 3-game series. And speaking of Columbus, Jackets signing somebody that is familiar to a lot of Jacket fans. And the MLB All-Star Game selections have been made. We'll talk about them. So much more. So sit back, relax, as it's time now for All Andy Alfred right here on Clayfan 2, 3.
I've been listening to you, watching the same games you've been watching, but I have the nerve to say what's on my mind. It's time to listen. It's time to learn. It's time for All Andy Alfred.
Hi. Starting now!
Go get him, Tiger.
A big win last night!
We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em, Tiger. World Series bound and picking up steam. Go get 'em, Tiger. There'll be joy in Tiger Town. We'll sing you songs with the Bengals. Bring the pennant home where it belongs. We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em. Detroit Tigers. Go get 'em, Tigers.
Go get 'em, Tigers! A big win last night in Seattle. They'll go for 2 tonight at 10:10.
We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em. Detroit Tigers. Go get 'em, Tigers.
Go get 'em, Tigers! And I love you guys! And welcome to All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, a production of Clayfan 2, 3. I am your host, Andy Alfred, welcoming you into the Man Cave Studios and welcoming you into another edition of All Andy Alfred as we're coming to you live here on the 7th of July, 2015. As we're doing this show happening right now, we got a lot to get into. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the signings today in the NHL, as well as the signing in Columbus as well, too, as the Jackets signing a familiar face. It's a lot of Jacket fans. We'll preview the Mud Hens series as well, too, and we'll talk a little bit about the MLB All-Star selections and the reserves that were made announcement last night. So let's get into the Diamond first, and let's talk about what happened last night First, let's talk about Progressive Field first, because that was the early game. 7 o'clock was the first pitch for this one, as the Cleveland Indians took on the Houston Astros. And boy, did the Astros come out swinging in the first inning alone, rocking Carlos Carrasco. 4 runs in the first inning alone, and Carrasco could not get his mojo back. 4 runs in the first, 1 run in the fourth, 3 runs in the sixth, 1 run in the seventh, a total of 9 runs in the game on 16 hits, no errors for Houston. Cleveland had 1 run in the third, 1 run in the fourth, 1 run in the sixth, and 1 run in the seventh. 4 runs on 10 hits, no errors, as the Cleveland Indians lost 9-4 at Progressive Field last night. Carlos Carrasco gets the loss. He goes to 10-7 with a 4.17 ERA. He went 4 innings, pitched 10 hits, 5 runs, all 5 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. For Houston in this game, Kunkel gets the win. He goes down to 11-3 with a 2.14 ERA. He went 6 innings, pitched 9 hits, 3 runs, all 3 earned, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Time of the game last night happening at Carnegie Way in Cleveland, Ohio. 3 hours and 15 minutes, a total of 13,516 in attendance at Progressive Field. Tucker for Houston, his 5th of the year. Gonzalez, his 6th of the season for the Houston Astros, as the Astros beat up on the Cleveland Indians 5-4. So hopefully, I was hoping last night that Detroit would get the win and at least salvage the show today. And they did. A big win. Big home run game for the Tigers. Oh my goodness. J.D. Martinez, his 24th. Victor Martinez, his 3rd. Nick Castellanos, his 5th. Yoenis Cespedes, his 11th. The final line, 12 runs on 19 hits, no errors for Detroit. 5 runs, 9 hits, no errors for Seattle. As Alfredo Simon gets the win, as the Tigers win 12-5. Alfredo Simon gets the win. He goes to now 8-5 with a 4.18 ERA. Simon in the game, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 runs, all 5 earned, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The 1 home run given up, which was Logan Morrison, his 11th of the year. Ralouf gets the loss for Seattle in this game. He goes to 0-1 with 11.57 ERA. It was Irakua to start the game. He went only 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 runs, all 5 earned, no walks, 3 strikeouts, a total of 4 home runs in the game for him. Time of the game, 3 hours and 17 minutes, 22,580 in attendance at Safeco Park in beautiful Seattle, Washington. Looking at some other scores happening yesterday in around the major leagues, the Cincinnati Reds were a winner 3-2 of the Washington Nationals. Rose Chapman gets his 17th save of the season. Suarez, his 3rd home run of the year. Espinosa for Washington, his 9th. San Diego was a loser to Pittsburgh 2-1. The Cubbies were a loser to Seattle 6-0. Arizona was not in action last night, of course, but Atlanta was. 5-3 was the final in Milwaukee. In extra innings, the Minnesota Twins win in walk-off fashion with a 4-2 win. The White Sox beat the Blue Jays 4-2. Philadelphia loses to the Dodgers 10-7, and the Giants get blanked by Nice from the Mets. The Defiance native blanks the world champions. Record is now 4-8 with a 3.58 ERA. Romo gets the loss for the Giants. He's 0-4 with a 4.97 ERA. Familia gets his 23rd save of the season for the Metropolitans. Kansas City and Tampa Bay were rained out last night. So tonight, looking at the schedule, we had one game that happened this afternoon. We actually had 2 games. It's a doubleheader for Tampa and Kansas City, making up from yesterday. Kansas City a 9-5 win over the Tampa Bay Rays. In Chicago on the north side, the Cubbies were a winner 7-4 over the St. Louis Cardinals. They have a nightcap tonight. It will be Clooney for Seattle versus Beer for Chicago. 8:05 start time for that one. The 8:10 start time will be Volquez versus Andres as Tampa takes on Kansas City. 7:05 start times tonight. Games are as follows. Cincinnati is in Washington. It's Cueto versus Scherzer. Oakland is in New York. That's Sonny Gray versus Eovaldi. 7:05 start times. San Diego and Pittsburgh. That's Ross versus Liriano. 7:10 start times. Miami is in Boston. It's Heron versus Miley. 8:05 start times. Arizona is in Texas tonight, as it will be Guzman versus Gibbs. It will be Ray versus Giordano. Atlanta is in Milwaukee. That's Barros versus Cravey. 8:10 start time, as well as Minnesota hosting the Baltimore Orioles. Guzman versus Gibson. On the south side of Chicago at 8:10 will be Quintana versus Dubront. 8:40 start time will be the Angels of Anaheim taking on Colorado. That's Henley versus Bettis. 10:10 start times, Billingsley versus Anderson as the Dodgers host the Phillies. And 10:15 Bartolo Colon will take on Kane for San Francisco. So let's take a look at the probables for tonight for the Detroit Tigers first and foremost. Kyle Ryan will start on the hill for the Detroit Tigers. He's 1-2 with a 4.55 ERA. He'll take on Walker from Seattle, who's 7-6 with a 4.34 ERA. 10:10 start time on Fox, Detroit, or on Root Sports. Looking at tomorrow a day game, a 3:45 start time for that one at Safeco Park. It will be Anibal Sanchez on the hill. He'll be on the hill versus J.A. Happ. 12:40 start time for that one before Detroit hits the road. They'll continues the road trip as they'll head to Minnesota to finish up before the All-Star break. It will be Price versus Pelfrey on Thursday night. Friday night we'll have Verlander versus Santana, and Phil Hughes will start for Minnesota, and Detroit has not yet named a starter. For Cleveland, tonight on the hill at 7:10, it'll be Corey Kluber on the hill. His record right now, as we speak, is a solid record right now. Who was 0-4 in the last 6 starts with a 3.56 ERA. He's been struggling as of late. Doing pretty good as of late. His ERA, but his wins-loss ratio has been struggling as of late. He will be on the buff tonight, 3-9 with a 3.64 ERA. And here is your starting lineup tonight for the Cleveland Indians. Leading off, it will be the MLB All-Star Jason Kipnis at second base. Francisco Lindor at batting second. He is at shortstop. Michael Brantley is DHing. He's at third. David Murphy at batting fourth. He's in left field. Yan Gomes catching behind the plate. He'll be batting sixth. Hey, what's your favorite kind of moss? Brandon Moss batting sixth. He's in right field. Carlos Santana's at first base. He'll be batting seventh. Ursula at third base. He'll be batting eighth. And Michael Bourne in center field. He will be batting ninth. For the Houston Astros tonight, on the hill for them, it'll be Vasquez, who is 0-0 with a 4.21 ERA. Jose Altuve leading off. Tucker batting second. He'll be in right field. Carrera is at shortstop. He'll be batting third. Gallus at DH. He'll be batting fourth. Ramos at center field. He'll be batting fifth. Cogger at center catching. He'll be batting sixth. Gonzalez batting seventh. He's at third base. Mike Singleton at first base. He'll be batting eighth. And Presley out in left field. 7:10 start time of that one. You can watch that game on Fox Sports Time. Tomorrow on the docket for the Tribe, it will be Strawley for Houston, who is 0-0 with a 7.71 ERA. He'll take on Trevor Bauer, who is 7-5 with a 3.88 ERA. 7:10 start time for that one. The concluded game on Thursday will have McHugh 9-4 with a 4.53 ERA, taking on Cody Anderson, who is 1-1 with a 0.78 ERA. 7:10 start time for that one. And then the Tribe will host the Oakland Athletics in a 3-game series before the All-Star break. Danny Salazar starting for them on Friday, 7-4 with a 4.10 ERA. The A's have not yet named the starter for that one. Carlos Carrasco will start on Saturday. He's 10-7 with a 4.17 ERA on Saturday, and both teams have not yet named the starters for Sunday. Corey Kluber will start on Sunday. He'll be 3 and not going into tonight's game. He's 3-9 with a 3.64 ERA. So we'll see what happens tonight at Progressive Field, as well as in Seattle this evening, as well as around the league as well too. So looking at the standings going forward into tonight's play, here's the updated standings with the Kansas City win today over Tampa Bay. Here's what it looks like right now. Kansas City 47-33 in first place. Minnesota's in second place. They're 44-39, 4.5 games out of first place. Detroit 42-40, 6 games out of first place. Cleveland 38-44, 10 games out of first place. And the White Sox are right behind them. They're 37-43, 10 games out of first place. And so we have had the announcement on Sunday, and we had the announcement yesterday. The MLB All-Star Game has been officially announced last night and on Sunday as well too. And we'll go over the starting lineup tonight we'll go over the starting lineup today for the MLB All-Star Game. And I'll tell you, it's Kansas City again. Those fans know how to vote. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy. The reserves were announced yesterday, and we'll go over the reserves for the American League. It will be Jose Bautista, Prince Fielder, Brock Holt, Jose Iglesias, Detroit Tiger, Adam Jones, Jason Kipnis, Manny Machado, Russ Martin, J.D. Martinez, Albert Pujols, who will start for Miguel Cabrera, Mark Teixeira, and Stephen Vaughn. For the pitchers, it will be Chris Archer, Dylan Beltis, Brad Boxbringer, Zach Britton, Wade Davis, Sonny Gray, Felix Hernandez, Kevin Carrera, Dallas Kunkel, Darren O'Day, Glenn Parkins, David Price, Chris Sale for the pitchers for the American League. For the National League, it will be Nolan Arredondo, Chris Bryant, Brandon Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez, Yasmin Grandal, DJ Malou, Andrew McCutcheon, who will now start for Giancarlo Stanton, Yadier Molina, Joe Pickett, Jock Peterson, AJ Pollock, Anthony Rizzo, and Justin Upton. On the pitching side, Madison Bumgarner, AJ Burnett, Garrett Cole, Jacob DeGrom, Zach Greinke, Shelby Miller, Max Scherzer, Michael Walker, Aronis Chapman, Mark McCollum, Jonathan Papelbon, Francisco Rodriguez, and Trevor Rosenthal for the National League. So now the National League is set. The starting lineups will be as followed going forward. Of course, Bryce Harper will be in the National League lineup. He was chosen was the leading vote getter in all of the voting. And the starters are as follows. Leading off at center field, as catching will be Salvador Perez. In place of Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols. Batting at second base, Jose Altuve. Josh Donaldson batting will be at third base. Aziz Escobar at shortstop. Mike Trout, Lorenzo Cain, Alex Gordon in the outfield. Total of 4 Royals in the starting lineup for this one. And Nelson Cruz, the DH for the Mariners. For the starters for the National League, it will be Buster Posey behind the plate. Paul Goldschmidt for the D-backs. D. Gordon at second base. Todd Frazier for the Cincinnati Reds at third base. Jahani Peralta, shortstop. Bryce Harper, Matt Holliday, and now Andrew McCutcheon is your starters for the National League. Again, the game is on the 14th of July. We'll be doing a special version of All Andy Alfred, of course, for that show. Talking about the All-Star Game. This Monday will be the Home Run Derby. And it is very good to see a young crew of individuals stepping up into this All-Star Game. It is so great to see. But yet, I still think that some of these people should not be in the All-Star Game. Michael Brantley deserves to be in the All-Star Game for the Cleveland Indians. Nick Castellanos deserves it. Some key players left out. Clayton Kershaw's in the final vote. Johnny Cueto's in the final vote. Yoenis Cespedes is in the final vote. Looking at the final vote ballot, this is the final vote ballots are this: Xavier Bogaerts from the Boston Red Sox, Yoenis Cespedes from the Tigers, Brian Dozier from the Twins, Brett Gardner from the Yankees, and Mike Moustakas from the Royals. You know Moustakas is going to get it because of the Royals and how good they're voting. For the National League, Cueto, Jerry Ferreira from the Mets, Clayton Kershaw from the Dodgers, Carlos Martinez from the Cardinals, and Troy Tulowitzki from the Rockies. Looking at it, the Rockies only have one representative. So 2 would be great. I still think Michael Brantley deserves to be on there. But that's just the voting system that it is today. Be interesting. It'll be interesting. That's the All-Star Game taking place in Cincinnati, Ohio. Get the NHL All-Star Game in Columbus this year. Cincinnati gets the MLB All-Star Game this year at the Great American Ballpark. You're watching All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, a production of ClayFan23, presented by CarryTheFifthLine.tumblr.com. So the Mud Hens tonight will now host the Clippers in a 3-game series after a 3-game series in Columbus for a 4 games in 3 nights situation against the Louisville Bats. And let's start off. The Mud Hens and the Clippers have announced their starting lineup. They will start on time tonight, 7 o'clock start time for the Mud Hens versus Clippers at Fifth Third Field. It has been announced, 7 o'clock start time tonight for the Mud Hen game. I know there's a lot of rain going on right now, but they will still get this game in. It's starting to dry up. It's going to start to dry up here momentarily. They were out in the field warming up when I drove by the ballpark before I came into the show today. Looking at it, it'll be Klorb for Columbus. He is 2-0 with a 2.25 ERA. Here's the Clippers starting lineup for them. Ramirez in left field will be batting first. Necklin out in center field will be batting second. Jose Aguilar at first base will be batting third. Lonnie Chisenhall batting fourth. He's at third base. Stans, the DH, he'll be batting fifth. Gonzalez at shortstop will be batting sixth. Ramsey batting seventh. He's in right field. Martinez batting eighth. He is at second base. And Moore behind the plate. He is batting ninth. For the Mud Hens tonight, it will be Phil Melville on the hill. For him, 3-7 with a 5.04 ERA. It will be, and here's the starting lineup. Robinson out in center field. He'll be leading off. Dixon Machado batting second. He's at shortstop. Stephen Moya batting third. He's in right field. Mike Crash Hessman batting fourth. He's at first base. Brian Holiday behind the plate. He'll be batting fifth. He's catching. Alexi Casilla batting sixth. He's at second base. Jeff Mahevey at left field. He'll be batting seventh. Corey Jones DHing tonight. He'll be batting eighth. And Wade Gaynor batting ninth. He will be at third base. The Mud Hens tonight, 7 o'clock start time. You can watch that game on BCSN or on MILBTV.com, or you can also listen to the game on 1230 WCWA, a iHeart radio station. The Mud Hens will then continue the series against the Clippers. They'll have Murata for Columbus. He is 5-4 with a 2.91 ERA. It'll be Shane Green on the hill, 1-1 with a 3.47 ERA. 7 o'clock start time for that one tomorrow. And then the concluding game on Thursday will be Roth for Columbus, 6-4 with a 4.02 ERA for taking on Buck Farmer, who is 7-2 with a 3.47 ERA. 7 o'clock start time for that one. Before the Mud Hens take on the Clippers, before they take on Louisville Bats on Friday night. The Mud Hens will throw Shea Weber, 5-4 with a 3.86 ERA. He'll take on Iglesias Ramirez or Iglesias for Louisville, who is 1-3 with a 3.41 ERA. And both teams have not yet named the starters for the doubleheader starting on Saturday. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, on MLB.com, the Mud Hens were mentioned on their homepage with the doubleheader happening this weekend, it being a Back to the Future theme night. Can't wait to see the hoverboards and see if Doc is going to be there. I love that movie. Very good movie with Michael J. Fox, celebrating its 30th year since it's been released. Looking at the scoreboard from yesterday evening around the International League, we had some night games last night happening in the International League, and looking at some of them, it was, of course, Toledo playing yesterday afternoon, getting the win and taking 2-3 in Columbus with a win of 3-2. Pawtucket yesterday afternoon loses to Syracuse 3-2. Charlotte wins 2-1 over Gwinnett. The Rail Riders lose to the Buffalo Bison 6-2. Rochester puts up 10 runs on Lehigh Valley, and Lehigh Valley responds with just 8, as it was a 10-8 final. Louisville loses to Indianapolis 3-1. Norfolk loses to Durham 2-0. So the Mud Hens trying to pick up some ground, couldn't do it with Indianapolis with the win last night. So looking at the standings going forward into tonight's play, this is what it looks like with Indianapolis win yesterday, a Toledo win, a Columbus loss, and a Louisville loss. Toledo's now 12.5 games out, 38-46, in dead last in the IL West. Louisville is 41-44, 10 games out of first place. Columbus is 44-41, 7 games out of first place. Indianapolis 51-34, holding the best record in all of the International League. Syracuse is 31-54. They're still one of the worst teams in all the International League in the IL North. Lehigh Valley 36-50, just at the same rate. So the Mud Hens are the third to worst team in the International League this season. We'll see what happens at the All-Star break. So you're watching All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, a production of ClayFan23, presented by CarryTheFifthLine.tumblr.com. If you have a question or a comment for the show, post it underneath the program, or tweet the show. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred. So we had some signings today in the NHL. Some big notes, of course. Vladimir Tarasenko from the St. Louis Blues signs a 6-year deal with the St. Louis Blues. Mikhail Bolker from Arizona signs with the Arizona Coyotes, but a familiar face for our show. A follower of ours on Twitter, Zach Wojcik, from the Carolina Hurricanes and the Charlotte Checkers, has re-signed with the Carolina Hurricanes, and he will probably be a two-way player with the Charlotte Checkers. Can't wait to see what he does in the American League, and I can't wait to see when he comes up to the Lake Erie Monster games. I want to go see him, and I want to get my picture taken with him. He's a follower of mine on Facebook, on Twitter. You can be a follower as well too, at All Andy Alfred. But the Jackets making a splash today and signing a local kid out of New Albany, Ohio. He formerly played with the AAA Columbus Blue Jackets. His name is Cole Sherwood. Cole grew up watching Blue Jacket hockey, grew to his accelerate NHL player on the chiller ice sheets all around Columbus. So in a way, he grew up with the game of hockey, and he also grew up in this city. He signs a 3-year deal with the Jackets. He has played all over Central Ohio, the city, and the Ohio AAA Blue Jacket program. It's an historic day for the program. They sign a local kid, brings in a lot of flavor as well too. I can see him being a Jacket soon, but he'd probably be more on the lines of playing in Cleveland for a little bit, as well as in Kalamazoo. We'll see what he does, and we could get a chance here in Toledo to see him when Toledo plays Kalamazoo, and we get a chance to go over to Cleveland to see him play with the Monsters. But on tomorrow's edition of All Andy Alfred, we'll recap the Tiger game as well as preview the Tiger games, because the Tigers tomorrow will play a day game. We'll recap both games for you. Recap the Mud Hen game from tonight and preview the Mud Hen game tomorrow, as well as the Indians recap and the Indians pregame tomorrow, as well as more updates around the NHL and so much more. So stick with us. You're watching. Keep with us and follow us on Twitter at All Andy Alfred. That's going to wrap it up for the program today. I am Andy Alfred. I hope you have a terrific evening. And as always, go Tigers! Go Tribe! Let's go Hens! We are the fifth line. And as always, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. Game of life. And to the teams behind me, it's your team that you root for at home as well. Victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of All Andy Alfred. Love you guys. Talk to you guys tomorrow.